Hello, LinkedIn Live. Okay, let me just make sure we are good to go. How's everyone doing today? Okay, so we are live. You can see me, you can hear me. We are all good. All right, let's roll. So, welcome to Open Session. Today, we will be talking about becoming bliss in high performance. Beautiful. Okay, becoming bliss in high performance. Let's talk about this. Before we begin, my name is Sarah Soul. I am the founder of Elyseon Experience. I work with high performers, leaders, athletes, artists, CEOs, and high output professionals in optimizing their human system to live, to lead, to operate, and to love from their highest frequency in their current phase of life. So today we are talking about becoming bliss in high performance. And I was so called to speak about this because, oh my gosh, this conversation matters now more than ever. Because what I have been seeing time and time again in high performers is something that is usually not openly spoken about, but it is there and it is significant and it is being felt collectively on a soul level, and it is affecting the quality of life in the high performer. And this needs to be addressed. And what this is a deficit, and it is the deficit of joy and bliss. And to live for extensive periods of time without these feelings of joy and bliss, it reduces the quality of life, all in the name of the game. And paradoxically, diminishes what it is, the exact thing that these high performers are working toward in their life. We are here. We are here. A life as we know it before us. And this is us. This little blip of time in eternity. And this is us. We are right here. Okay? This is us. This little blip of 100 something years on average, let's say, I don't know. We don't know God's timing, but we know that we are here for such a short time. What are we doing if we are not receiving life and experiencing joy and bliss in our everyday life? That little blip is us. And this needs to be addressed, okay? Because we could be doing everything on the surface to ensure a better life, greater impact. But the quality of this blip is significant if you choose it to be significant. Now, before we talk about bliss, okay, we have to ask this question. What is a high performer? And what does it cost? To operate life in high performance as your career, it is not something that you kind of just stumble into. It really isn't. It is a choice. And More importantly, as a doctor, as an athlete, as a CEO, as an individual executing a powerful vision, it is more than just a choice. It is an intentional choice, but it is the choice of a calling. Most of the time, if you're a high performer, you are responding and executing daily in response to a calling. And that is not an easy feat. It requires massive amounts of discipline and effort and energy. It requires of you your time. And in the end, we are answering this calling through this in response to this vision, being called into duty. But I don't want to confuse high performance now with high output because many people can have high output lifestyles, right? But the difference is a high performer is someone who has or is working toward greatness. Take that in for a second. And through this act, we hear all the time because this is the way that we are trained and programmed is that it truly does come with somewhat of a cost. The choice to become great, the effort that it takes, consciously chosen, or it comes as a byproduct of high performance, is usually the emotional starvation, delayed gratification, things like pleasure, the quality of our relationships, work life balance, time, happiness. Does it come with that cost? Maybe it does to some degree. Maybe it does. But that all is our choice. And I feel that as we progress through time and the evolution of the way that our society is being presented in high performance, all the data, all the systems, all the tools and resources and information that we are given daily to obviously create systems to make our high performance more at ease, more aligned. But at the same time, there's this felt missing piece. Why is it that we cannot embody bliss daily? Why is it that we cannot experience joy in in the moments of the mundane, in the moments of high output? The blip is us. We must, we must fill this missing piece. And the way that I feel we can, that is available to us. Perhaps we don't have the emotional bandwidth to actually deal with, you know, quality relationships. Perhaps we don't have the time to indulge in certain things that most people would because of our responsibility, because of what we're striving toward. And that desire that stems from deep within us, it's not going to go away. As a matter of fact, if you have strong desire for a vision and a goal and you put yourself in places that require you to step out of that, it becomes quite difficult. But what I've noticed just on my own journey to bliss in high performance is that bliss is actually always available to us the same way. And it's literally just a choice, just like how we choose our output, our energy, what we allocate our time, our voice, our effort into. Bliss is always available for us. And this in turn can create joy. happiness, ecstasy, euphoria. These are all a byproduct of bliss. Okay. I actually have my own definition of bliss that I have come to develop over the years and through my own practices and things that I do daily and my own discovery of this missing piece. And I want to share that with you. So I'll read it. Bliss to me is a feeling of full presence, full presence. It is where my heart is open. My heart chakra is open. It is not closed. It is not blocked. It is open to the love of life, to the love of my environment and of who I am in this very moment, not the becoming of who I'm striving toward, not the becoming of the business, not that. Now, me now, this task now. It is when I'm not feeling or experiencing any resistance to this current moment, allowing joy, beauty, and appreciation to be received fully by my system. In other words, bliss is openness. It is full presence without resistance to the current moment. So I want you to take that in and to think of examples of, I mean, you might have a different definition of bliss, but again, this is just what I've discovered over the years, what I've really resonate with. And I want you to think of like moments of when you had experienced bliss and also moments when you have maybe overlooked an experience or a moment that could have been blissful. So maybe when we say this, that we feel bliss, really, when we don't have resistance to the moment, this is why it shows up during intimacy. This is why it shows up um, when we're in acts of victory and devotion, beauty, breath, and purpose. Just put that on. Okay. So I want to ask this question. And the question is, if I ask you right now where you feel resistance, right? Because when you think of the way that we have been conditioned, right? This world in general, like in schools, we are not taught how to activate joy. We're not taught how to embody and step into bliss and how to really receive life for a better quality of life. We're taught the tools and the resources and the systems and the knowledge for status, for security, to be the best, to achieve greatness. Actually, to achieve greatness is actually going beyond what we have been conditioned for. And you know this because greatness is not in the ordinary, it is beyond that. But the world doesn't prime us. The government and society, schools, conditioning, thought, beliefs, like unless you have been intentionally brought up in an environment where joy and bliss was something of importance for you to integrate into your life, this is something that has to be learned and acquired, which can be, it is trainable. And I know this directly through my own bliss training, so to speak. Okay. We are not given the conditions to be open to receiving life. And that is honestly quite sad, because at some point, like how I feel this collective of high performers are feeling today, it's heavy, and you don't feel it like when you're saying, you know what, I'm not really feeling like I want more joy. I'm feeling like I'm not excited about life. It's just nah. And then you come to a peak in your life and you're like, okay, well, this is great. I want to make something clear that bliss can be felt through contrast, but it is not the contrast that is bliss. So I'll give you an example. Humans are conditionally, I mean, not conditionally, but we're kind of wired to crave contrast. So, for example, when it's freezing outside and you go somewhere and you get relief and you go somewhere warm, or the opposite, when it's really hot and you step into an air conditioned space, when you're tired and you get some sleep, when you're hungry and then you eat. Of course, it could be blissful, but bliss is a more integrative coherence in the system rather than relief. We can feel relieved, yes. And a lot of the times people seek bliss in extremities. Like, I'm going to get this done. I'm going to lock in. I'm going to grind. I'm going to do all these things that are depleting my soul day by day, depleting my joy day by day. And then, boom, I'm going to go for a month on vacation. And then I'm going to be blissful. Blip, the blip. We are the blip in time. Okay. Do we have time for that? Is my question. Probably not, because this is why I'm getting over like constant inquiries on wholeness and bliss and joy. Where is it? How can I achieve it? I'm wired for the grind. I am wired for high output. I have high levels of responsibility, Sarah. Every day I'm meeting after meeting, boardroom after boardroom, training after training. Where do I have time for joy? And this is why integrating bliss into your everyday life can, you don't have to wait for the contrast, for the high output to vacation. And I will share with you in this open session on how to actually achieve that from my perspective. All right, all right. Okay, so don't get me wrong, it's such a great like feeling to go for it, to be in it, to strive towards something. And those are also states of bliss. But the reason why I'm even talking about this is because joy it shouldn't be separate. It shouldn't be separate from the vision, from the duty. It's got to be integrated. So I do want to speak on something here. Like, I know there are women here who consider themselves high performers. And women are more generally like looking for and receptive and in tune with their emotions and whatnot. But also, but I want to touch more specifically on from the lens of masculine dominant environments, because in high masculinity cultures, and we could talk about this all day, but I really want to touch on this because it is the masculine most of the time that I'm feeling that it's like there's this vision of the masculine where you got to really lock in and grind, and strength is rewarded. Your strength is rewarded. Your determination is rewarded. Your softness, for whatever reason, becomes misunderstood, and emotion is actually seen as inefficient. That's why people suppress emotion, don't even think about it. That's why their relationships have poor quality. and whatever it is. But that can be worked on. When one activates bliss within them, then everything else becomes a byproduct. As within, so without. That's universal law. Bliss and receptivity to life, openness, though, it does not weaken your precision. And this is what I think needs to be touched on. That openness and receptivity to life. I'm not talking about being all up in your feels all damn day. I'm just talking about having priming, preparing, integrating your body, your mind, your soul to receive life in every moment through the grind, through it all. It allows the energy to move from suppression to coherence, to integrate. And I want to give this example because I was actually thinking for this open session, what example can I really give to demonstrate this? And the one that came to mind was the example of the most divine masculine being that I know, that people praise all over, millions of people resonate with, praise, look up to in history. And that is the one and only, drumroll, Jesus Christ. Okay, so Jesus Christ, was he a high performer? Let's ask that question. Well, we know that he has massive duty to restore relationship between humanity and God by embodying love, truth, and wholeness. To model what an integrative system looks like under the highest possible stakes. See, Jesus, right? He's a high performer because he's living in alignment with his mission. Check. He's sustaining clarity under extreme pressure. Check. Holding compassion while facing threat and misunderstanding and even physical pain. Executing purpose without fragmenting. Remaining embodied under suffering. This is the prime example of becoming bliss in high performance. Jesus Christ is one of the most highest functioning beings ever recorded. So bliss for Jesus, it wasn't necessarily about the absence of pain, right? It wasn't about that. It was unbroken alignment with his purpose, with love, that heart chakra activation and openness, the sensations, and of course, presence, this present moment. This is a nervous system truth before a spiritual one, though. Take that in. Jesus regularly withdrew into solitude and prayer, and he entered states of deep communion, coherence, and surrender. So, from a modern lens, we could say that he had a regulated nervous system. He had a coherent brain heart state. He sustained parasympathetic dominance. He had a high vagal tone and a profound meaning anchoring. He's deeply rooted in who he is. And that allowed him to regulate crowds emotionally and stay coherent under betrayal, to maintain his identity under torture, integrate love, authority, humility, and power all simultaneously. This, my friends, is a prime example of the elite nervous system capacity. He showed us that, bliss and devotion are not opposite, that bliss is actually what sustains this devotion And this devotion that we're talking about here is what you are devoted to, your goal, your vision, what you're working towards, what you have achieved. Bliss is not separate, it is always accessible to you, to us, to us. So I want to answer the question or ask the question: is joy a distraction from greatness? Now that we know this example of Jesus Christ, who did not choose success over joy, or duty over presence, or sacrifice over aliveness, is joy actually the distraction from greatness? Or is it the fuel that makes it sustainable? That word, sustainable. Sustainable. We want to be able to sustain the beauty and the joy of our life, because then it doesn't become sustainable. That's why so many people deal with high stress and burnout, because they're on a constant quest for their vision and what they're looking to execute, that along the way, something diminishes, deteriorates. And that is felt in the soul. That is felt on a soul level. There's no other way to really explain that. That missing piece, if you are feeling or watching this right now and you are feeling a missing piece, ask yourself that question. Is joy actually the distraction? Or is it the factor that is going to sustain your high performance, your high output, all the things you do on a daily basis? Okay. So what does everyone think so far about this topic? Is it resonating? Is there anything you'd like me to answer at this point in the session? Okay. So I want to go back to my own definition of bliss, which was, and the specific part about where my senses are activated, allowing this moment to be fully received by my system. And when I say that, I'm talking about my senses, as in, yes, the five senses. I'm talking about touch, taste, smell, hearing, and did I say taste? What was the last one? Touch, taste, smell. What am I missing? Sight. Oh my God. The last one is sight, of course. What you can see, what you can smell, what you can feel, what you can hear, what you can taste. The thing, what I have found in my own journey to bliss is that, and it sounds really simple, but all day, each day of our life, we perceive the world that we live in through our senses. And that creates sensation. And that sensation itself is blissful. It is bliss. The ability to have these sensations, if you have all five of them, it creates an activation within the heart chakra, the ability to be open, to receive love, to give love, to appreciate, to have gratitude. And these five senses can be used on a micro level every day. Every day you are seeing something. Every day you touch. Every day you hear sounds. Every day you smell different things and you taste different things. You can find and become bliss through your senses. So the nervous system is receptive through this. Like once we pay attention to the way that we feel through the senses, our perception of life, then now the nervous system is no longer being braced and the heart is open enough to receive experience. Your senses are the interface between consciousness and reality. And when sensation is muted or it's filtered or it's overridden, for example, by vigilance, by striving, by control, bliss becomes inaccessible, even if life is objectively good. This is why sensation matters more than mindset here. You can't prime your mind. I mean, you could to some degree, but you can't fully activate the mind for bliss. Bliss is felt, and it is felt through our perception, and our perception is through our senses. Does that make sense? Hold on. I wrote a note here about um yeah, so bliss requires this receptivity. I want to go on to talk about this here. Um about this receptivity and how sensation opens up the heart. So, sensation does three critical things. One, it allows the heart to open, which we've talked about, but it anchors attention into the now, in the present moment. What's going on in this present moment? It also asks the question, where did I write it? It signals safety. Sorry, it doesn't answer the question. It signals safety to the nervous system and it reconnects meaning to the body. This is why touch can soften someone instantly. Random hug from somebody that you love or a child, or when it's cold and you just feel that sunlight in the morning right on your face, when you take a drink of water after being really dehydrated. Taste can evoke memory and emotion, warmth, breath, rhythm, beauty. For some reason, can create tears without even it being a thought. And I really want to talk about appreciation and gratitude, right? Because we can actually be so grateful. We can be so grateful for the opportunity, for our current situation. We can be grateful for all that we have, all that we will receive, all that we are. Gratitude is such a high vibrational act that puts our frequency on a very high level. Like when you're feeling down and you just tap into the things you are grateful for, it automatically can state shift you. But the thing is that gratitude isn't exactly bliss. You could be grateful for something and can know something is good without feeling it. And this happens when your nervous system is still in output mode. This happens when the body is like still braced for the next demand of you. This happens when attention lives in the future instead of the present. What's here now? This is why people say like I'm grateful, but I'm not really feeling it. I could be grateful, but I'm not feeling it. Think of it like this. You are in an art gallery and you see a really beautiful painting. You notice that it's beautiful. You're like, yeah, that's cool. You kind of just walk by it. But how could we frame that? Like, if you don't stop walking, look at it, really take it in, slow your gaze, let the color penetrate within your system and really admire it. You won't feel moved by it. Do we understand now that bliss requires receptivity? It requires receptivity. And that is the byproduct, like joy, happiness, ecstasy, like euphoria. This happens when our body is primed for bliss. When we become bliss, everything is a byproduct of that. And it's not to say that like, oh, this is so blissful all the time, and I'm just walking, talking. No, it's very subtle. It is very subtle. Bliss is like when you don't have resistance to life in this very moment. In this very moment in time, when you are thinking of activating bliss in the mundane things you are doing, activate your senses. I actually have a process for this, but I want you to ask this question before that, because maybe it's a really easy way to drop into a state of bliss is, what is it here right now that I'm doing, that I'm surrounded by, that I am either internally or externally? What is it about this moment that I don't want to miss? That alone will shift your attention. That alone will shift your presence. And then you can be open to receiving that. And then you can experience a moment of bliss in something mundane, in something that just kind of seems like it's dragging out. Don't get me wrong, use your discernment for whatever you do in life. I'm simply sharing with you what's worked for me to be able to have a better quality of life as a high performer, to experience joy, to laugh more, to smile, to feel good about what it is that you're doing without depletion. We are all on the course of something great if you are in this room here with me. I know it. But along the way, we must tap into this moment of becoming bliss, and this will become a ripple effect. If you can embody bliss, it literally changes your energetic field. And if you are here and you can embody bliss, your heart chakra is open and you are feeling, and your senses are activated, right? You're activated. And then the people that you're around now, okay? The people, sorry, my drawings are quite terrible, but the people that you are now around is going to feel that. You can still, not to say you can still operate in the in the tasks that you do, the responsibilities that you do, but because now that your senses are activated for the intention of experiencing life, receiving life, and feeling bliss, this is received, this is felt on an energetic level from the people around you. It is the same way on the polar opposite, where as somebody is, for example, uh, if you are here and in leadership, this is very important because your quality of life is actually, people feel that. And if you are in some type of leadership role, then, and you are responsible for the livelihood of people in your company, of your family, of those around you, and you don't have the capacity, the ability to embody bliss and all the things that are a byproduct of that, then that is also felt. Okay, so you're angry and you're high stress and you have fragmentation. Your communication system is not coherent between the brain and the heart. The heart is closed off. you're not receptive to life. You're just like, let me get down to business. Business is the vision. Nothing else. Just write it out, lock in, grind. And then joy is somewhere down here. Okay. Joy, bliss, quality of life, quality. Okay. And then the people that you lead, or the people that are in your company, or the people that you work around, they're just like, they have hope. All right. They have vision too. They have, these people, this community, the people around you, your family, this world is all dependent, not, I mean, it is dependent on your individual vibration, on your individual frequency, on your individual outlook of life. So, however you be radiates outwards, and other people feel that, and then they question their own damn self and their own damn life, and then they feel the resistance as well. Okay. So we're at 41 minutes now. This might go a little bit longer because there was something else I wanted to share. Okay. Mm, mm, mm. I want you to take in some examples of where you have felt bliss in your life. Really close your eyes and just think of a moment where you're like, this was blissful. Like I was fully receiving life in this moment, and I felt bliss. I felt the ecstasy. I felt this. And when you think about that moment, maybe meditate on it for a second, really bring the energy of that moment into your heart space and allow it to be an anchor for you. Like, take some time to do this so that when you are in high stress states, when you're like, what's the point? When you're just like, I've done it all, I've got it all, I have everything that I have ever wanted, but now, you know, just anchor into that feeling, the feeling of bliss. Allow that to be an anchor for you. Again, ask yourself that question: what is it about this moment that I don't want to miss? Prime your body for that, prime your senses for that. So, some of the examples I wrote down here for examples of bliss that you probably do daily is that first sip of water in the morning when you're dehydrated after a long night's sleep or a short night's sleep, whatever. Exhaling after holding intention, warm water, hot shower after a hard day, sunlight on your face on a cold morning. Music is a beautiful way to tap into bliss. Being deeply seen in conversation, inside jokes, or just laughing authentically and very having a good laugh with people. Touch that is safe and respectful, massage, holding hands, hugging, shared prayer, ritual, silence. The moment you know that you did something amazing in what it is that you're doing. Flow state during competition or creation, after a hard set or interval if you're working out. Um, and then there's the external self, which is bigger than you. So the ocean horizon, the mountains, stars, the moon, the sun, birth, art, music, prayer. These are just some examples. But I mean, what I'm saying is that this could be overlooked and missed if you don't ask yourself the question, what is it about this moment I don't want to miss? If you don't activate your senses to receive that. Sometimes I'm walking around in my new found bliss embodied self, and people are just like, that girl's a freak. What is she so happy about? But, I mean, The truth is like it's life, and it's is it the life, like the quality, the blip. I'm here for just a blip of in eternity. Why not? Why not? Okay. Okay. I think let's see. And also the breath. Coming home to the breath, being aware of your breath is also such a blissful thing. If you can't do anything else and you can just anchor into the fact that your heart is beating, the fact that you have desire for something, the fact that this life force is literally the force of life, the energy of life is running through your system at this very moment, allowing you to do what you do, is blissful in itself. And if you can't do anything else and you can do just that, please do so. Okay, I think I've covered everything I had wanted to talk about, but closing notes. I wish for you, my intention for you, for all my clients that have come to me with wondering about joy and the missing piece, for if you are not even my client and just someone watching and this might have resonated with you because you're just so in it. And when you're so in it, it's hard to zoom out. You're just like, I'm so in it, I'm so close to the goal. But within this process, bliss is always available for you. And I hope you remember that. And the tools and the information that I had shared with you today. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I look forward to seeing you next week at our open session. Have a beautiful day, the best day